We asked four great hunters what is the best hunting advice they've ever received. We're talking to Heath, Cisco, Clint, Campbell, Tanner, and Jared from Whitetail Adrenaline on the best advice they've ever received. Leave in the comments below what's the best hunting advice you've ever gotten over the years. Hope you guys enjoy it. Here we go.
What is the best hunting advice you've ever been given?
Mine would be probably from Jared, and it would be cover ground. And I believe that's the head of all this for the way we do things. And I think that was given from him. You know, I've learned a lot of stuff from many people, but even, you know, in hunting, I believe it's cover ground. That's it. So that's where I'm at.
I have to say there's a lot of truth to that. You know, that goes right back to what I said during lockdown just a minute ago.
Yeah, cover ground.
You know, I know they're in lockdown.
You get the point.
I got to cover ground. You know?
Yeah, even a tree stand in timber. If I had to use a tree stand, I would still cover ground and a shitload of it. You know, I would make sure.
Be bopping around, pulling your tree stand in and out.
No, I mean cover it and find number one spot before I hung it.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people just pick something on an area, go hang it. They wait 8 days and no big buck cruise.
There's definitely a time and place where it's like if you're a hybrid, you gain a lot by going in on the ground aggressive.
Boots
and then
on the
it's
ground.
like, okay, like especially when you're going in a new area or you haven't been there in a year, going boots on the ground, and after a day or two, it's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. This is where I'd hang my set. There's good hybrid.
Yeah.
But it starts at the cover ground thing, I think. Yeah, no, that one's good. And then the other thing, I think a lot of people miss this one today. A lot of people want to just read a book or listen to something, and then they're going to overnight be you know, and forget, like, I can put it in print or whatever, but there's no substitute for just time
spent
in the field. It doesn't matter hardly what thing you're doing in life. If it's to get to a certain point, you have to get experience of just doing it, because every situation's different. It's like you learn things along the way, like, okay, that wind's probably going to bounce off of that like that or whatever. All these micro details, they get all stored back in the background of your brain after doing 20 years or whatever it is, and you're out there like 120 days straight.
Yeah.
You know,
learn a lot.
You learn a lot that time of field. It's just, you know, you can learn quite a bit information-wise, but then you got to go apply that, figure out, okay, that worked this time, probably wouldn't have worked in this set or this situation or whatever. You know, it's good for people to realize, like, it's a journey.
Yeah,
you know?
Don't compare yourself to others, and you'll be fine. Keep trying to strive to do better.
Yeah.
Pretty good advice.
Yeah, go do you, right?
Right. That's another thing. Just go do you. You know, it's like if you like tree stands or whatever it is in hunting, I'm not sitting here trying to pinhole people like, oh, you should only hunt public or you should only hunt on the ground or whatever. It's like, you go do you, whatever makes you drive.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, Heath, you're someone that when you speak or talk on a podcast or we have the opportunity to talk, I pay very close attention and I take any advice you give. For you, what is the best deer hunting advice you've ever been given?
So the best deer hunting advice I've ever been given is don't be afraid to fail. You need to trust your instinct, trust what you see, and go in and make it happen. If you set back, you just mess around, you don't get in there and get it done, you're never going to make it happen. So don't be worried about going in and failing. Jump in, use your skills that you've learned over the years and your equipment and make it happen.
Sure. That's a great answer.
And if it doesn't happen and you mess up, then you mess up. You move on to the next.
Yeah. And then you take maybe what went wrong and apply it to the next situation. And it could be the difference between learning quickly what not to do or never learning at all and never killing a deer.
So Clint, you and I have hunted together quite a bit over the last few years. Great travel partner, great hunting partner. And we may have had this come up at some point during conversations, you know, in the trailer. But if you had to go back in your memory and think about all your different hunting experiences, all the different mentors, all the different external input you've had from fellow hunters, maybe friends, maybe it's non-hunters, I don't know. But if you could pinpoint one thing, what's the best hunting advice you've ever received?
That is, that's a tall task, man. Golly, trying to pin it down to just one, because there's like a million things that run through your head, you know, especially, you know, when you've run a podcast for as long as I have and you've talked to so many different hunters for as long as I have. I literally just did a video about the 5 foundational things that I've learned from doing the podcast that actually came out today at like 3:00. You know what I mean? Which is kind of funny. I would maybe answer this in 2 ways. I think, I think the tactical or the strategy kind of part of it is one kind of aspect of it, right? And so if you ask me like what the most important thing related to like the actual physical kind of aspect of hunting is, I'd be hard pressed to find someone that has influenced me more than, Dan Enfault or John Eberhart. Could probably go either way, because it was really once I understood what they were saying, not just theoretically, but I started like implementing what I was learning from them. Once I was able to kind of do that and boots on the ground and actually see it, like it changed my world. It was like I all of a sudden went from feeling like I'm making an attempt to like I'm trying to extract something. You know what I mean? I'm trying to kill something, as opposed to like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm having a good time. I'm hanging out. You know what I mean? I really felt like every time I went to hunt, once I started really understanding their teachings about, using Dan specifically using wind and thermals, and John specifically around freelance hunting. Once I kind of understood those two things and how they worked together, that was when all of a sudden, I felt like I went from hoping I see something to like setting up and going like, yeah, this is the right day. I may not kill today, but I'm going to see what I want to see. So I would say those two, and those two pieces were really, really, really instrumental for me. I think from a, maybe more of a hippy dippy kind of approach, I'd have to say my dad, in, love him to death, but he's never been like a big game, like, I'm a big whitetail hunter. Like he really didn't bow hunt. We gun hunted growing up and stuff like that. But it was always about, he preached safety, safety, safety. It used to drive me crazy as a kid, because it was always like, you're gun on safe, you're gun on safe. Like he would ask me 100 times during the course of a hunt, right? I'm like, I don't really care. I just want to see something. You know what I mean? Like as a kid. Not true. It's like, safety is important. I always say safety second. But it was, my uncles used to kind of make fun of my dad a little bit, like in jest and in good humor, that, my dad's name's Fred. They'd say, Freddie's got that same box of shells he's had for 20 years because he won't take a shot. And I always never really understood that when I was a kid. Right. And maybe when I got a little older, it was like, I thought maybe he was holding out for something bigger. You know what I mean? But then when I got a little older yet, I realized that he just loved spending time in the woods, and he liked the experience, more than anything. And he liked taking me, and watching me have these experiences for the first time. So I think like, the biggest influence, as I got older and as I sit here now as an adult with my own family, is that what he was really teaching me was like, these moments are going to go by fast, and you need to stop and just kind of take it all in for what it's worth. Don't worry about pulling the trigger. You're going to forget about that. But just remember how being outside makes you feel, and make sure that you pass that on to your kids. And so I think, to me, that was probably the biggest influence, and that's probably the part that resonates the most with me now, and is honestly why I have more fun hunting now than I've ever had, because I think that I have that perspective now when I go out, to where it's like, if I don't kill, I don't care. I'm not trying to impress anybody on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, really don't care what anybody thinks. And it's really kind of my mindset now. And I have way more enjoyment with bow hunting and just hunting in general. Scouting too. It's the process. It's the adventure. And that was, I think that's, in hindsight, what I really picked up from my dad.
Love it. Deep answer. I love it.